Family, what is up? Welcome to another episode of 3/5 of a Podcast. I am one half of the hosting duo. I am Teddy D. And joining me as always is my homie Jonathan Lehman. What's going on with you, brother?
Happening, man. Everything's great.
Yeah.
What's going on with you?
Everything's great personally.
Yeah, I think that's the running theme for everybody. Personally, we're good, but
yeah. Politically, there's a lot going on right now, man. Listen, before we get started, let the people know where they can find and support your show as well as your social media activity, sir.
Well, you can always find myself as well as my brother. We do the Brothers Lehman Sports Happy Hour. You can find us on blackkidsonline.com. Or if you want to talk to us personally, you can always hit us up on Twitter at Brothers Lehman. Yeah, hit us up. We're willing to talk about anything. And sports is my expertise, which is why I'm kind of on this show, so I can learn my politics because I'm slacking.
Man, you say that, dude, but you don't want to introduce me to topics. So I'm Teddy D. I'm host of the Why Not Podcast, as well as one of several hosts of the Black Astronauts Podcast. There's going to be a big announcement about both shows coming up, and I think you'll be excited. I think it'll be good, man. I think it'll be good. So you can find me on social media at Instagram, Dwight Ted, or at Twitter, Teddy_D_. On Facebook, you can always join the Black Astronauts Podcast Network group that we have. And as always, we're running a Patreon campaign, so we appreciate each and every donation, no matter the dollar amount. You guys are dope. Thank you for the support. So today, all right, man, today we have a couple of things going on. One a little bit more current than the other. And let's break down the word for this first topic. And the word of today is demographics. And with demographics, it is essentially the easy way to break up what race, sex, belief system, even states to some extent, voted for a candidate. It doesn't really get into why or why not, although that is part of the fun, that you can always speculate why, black women in Oregon decided to vote for Bernie Sanders instead of Hillary Clinton's in the primaries or something like that. Not saying that's true for the record, because once again, as we covered last show, black women are the way they follow when it comes to politics, all right? But essentially what we want to focus on today is a concept, an idea of a part of the Democratic Party that isn't discussed as much, at least on our side, as it has been in the past. After the election it was, and I think for obvious reasons you'll figure out why. The question that we have is, today, as we stand, what does a white Democrat look like? What does that look like?
Yes.
And when we started talking about this, I mean, there's a million different ways that we can go. As we mentioned before, you are in the state of California, a state that is traditionally blue. No chance of going even purple, much less red. So,
hell no.
The idea, I'm curious on to you, not just specifically male, but that's been, I think, well, we'll get into the male versus the woman white voter in a second, but what do you think of when you think of a white Democrat? Who is that to you?
White Democrat, I mean, here living out in California, I mean, to me, white Democrat would be, I don't want to say, your average white guy, but, surfer type guy, free thinking dude. We have a lot of hipsters out here as well. It's really hard to put a description with it, only because, like you said, we are a blue state. So the majority of the people here, for the most part, are Democrats.
Right.
So it's really hard for me to specifically pinpoint what they look like.
Right.
I'm sure maybe for you it's a little bit easier because you're closer to the South and everything like that. So they're kind of far and fewer in between there.
Yes.
But out here, it's it's hard, and it's hard just because
You just never know.
there's yeah, you never know.
You
Like
never know.
you talk I've talked to so many people, white people,
Hmm.
older, younger, and a lot of them they crap on 45.
Yeah.
They can't stand them. They don't like them.
Yeah.
You occasionally, I've rarely, I will say, I have seen an actual Trump supporter, or I actually met one
Right.
out here. Now again, you're probably on the complete opposite side of the spectrum from me.
I'm glad you said it before I did. So that's one side of it. That's out in L.A., California.
Yeah.
Here in Louisville, Kentucky. Let me run you through a typical work day for me. All right.
Mm,
I work
okay.
in manufacturing. So
Okay.
when I pull up at my job, I pass by, I don't know, maybe roughly about 100 cars on the aisle that I walk into work, into the actual building. Out of those 100 cars, I would say 40 of them have some type of either a Trump sticker and or a Confederate flag on them. Walking in, I work directly, and this may surprise you, but it may not if you know me. The guy that I work right next to is of Russian descent from rural Kentucky, long beard like Duck Dynasty, and he carries a cooler that has a sticker on it, Hillary for prison, right? But this is probably the guy I'm closest to at work, like separate from politics, of course, but
Yeah.
good dude, horrible politics, good dude. So and on that side note, by the way, when people hear me on, like we are affectionately on the Chitlin circuit of podcasts, like Black podcasts, when they hear me defend the quote unquote Trump voter, it's not me speaking in the abstract. It's me thinking specifically about the people that I know and love that are Trump supporters that have redeeming qualities. I just don't agree with their
Yeah.
politics. So for me, it is personal. But now that's not me defending. That's not me defending them voting for Trump before y'all come after me. I don't want y'all to hear that. So I give that backdrop to say that to me, the most surprising part when I really think about what a white Democrat, and specifically a white Southern Democrat, male looks like nowadays, there is no profile. To me, there is no profile. And that's amazing when you think about it. But like the same guy that I just described to you voted for Trump. But you know what? He voted for Obama twice before that. And
Exactly.
he identifies as an independent. So this is me for a split second having a little bit of empathy for politicians here in the state of Kentucky. How the hell are you supposed to campaign for that?
Yeah.
When you are really trying to use the shotgun approach of, garnering as much support across as many aisles as possible in not only your policies and your belief, but how you campaign to people to get their vote. There's a lot of different variables in that. And if we all know, if we step back, I assume the majority of our listeners are people of color, right? But if we step back and we think as a politician, hey, how do I, ex-politician, garner as much support as I can with white Democrats in the South? I have a hard time figuring out what that formula is right now. And I think when we were younger, the Clinton and Gore era, which if you've ever gone on the internet and done a deep dive, you would more than likely see one of the campaign stickers that Clinton Gore had from '92 that had Clinton on top, Gore on bottom, and then a Confederate flag right through there. Because at the time it wasn't as taboo. As a matter of fact, like back in the day, like 20 years ago, Dukes of Hazzard was still on running.
I kid you not, you read my mind. I was like, years back when I saw Confederate flag, I was like, oh, that's Dukes.
Right. Like,
Oh,
for the
Dukes.
record,
That's
how crazy is it that we didn't check, like our parents didn't check that, like, I don't know about that. Like it was accepted. Like, that's crazy.
It was, but I mean, it's hard to just get rid of it completely because it is a portion of history.
Yes. Yeah.
Not saying a good portion.
It is a portion.
But it is a portion of history.
Right.
And, I mean, they lost the damn war, but, you look back at history and you're like, well, did Lincoln really want to free the slaves?
Yeah.
Not really.
Right.
He was
Lincoln
kind of forced.
Yeah,
it was a mess. It was a complete and utter mess.
Because Lincoln didn't have that much political capital when he started, and he built it up. He finally became president, and then they try to portray it as like
he freed the slaves.
Yeah,
and you're like, well, it wasn't by choice. Like,
right.
It wasn't like he came out and was just like, you know what, all slaves are free. That's not how it went.
No, it was more like, I guess this makes sense. Like, if we're gonna,
exactly.
If we're gonna do it, let's go ahead and do it, guys. Come on, like, it wasn't Lincoln praying at night for the most valiant thing that he could ever do in office. Like, let's stop that narrative. Right?
You know what? I give him credit for, I guess, doing the deed, because he could have gone the opposite way and said, "Nah, you know what? Nah, let's keep the status quo."
Right.
But so, he went again. He did not. He was like, you know what? Okay, go ahead and let's free them. Right. So I'll give him some credit for that. But
so I'm with you, and I think, and I want to throw this out to you because I'm still processing after research and thinking about it. Here's where I am. I think whether we as voters want to believe it or not, on a national scale, so not our local senators, Congress people, council people, but I think on a national scale, when it comes to presidential politics, a lot of who the candidate is the ideal version of who we want our country to represent. You know what I'm saying? So President Obama was a mixed candidate from Kansas who went to the top schools, was truthfully a moderate Democrat, if we're being honest. He wasn't the most liberal. And he is an incredible speaker. So there was a lot of what you call, there was just a lot of acceptability for him to be successful in the quote unquote flyover states, middle America. And I just don't know the candidate right now that could be that for the Democratic Party. Of course, there are people that we love, like Auntie Maxine. Like, I would love for her to do something more on a national scale.
She's too raw for the presidential seat.
And that might exactly that might not be her role.
Like, I would love it. Yeah. I would love for Maxine Waters to be up in there, but let's just keep it real. She's too real for the White House.
Like shout out to another fellow.
Ain't that bitch black?
That's right. Shout out to another fellow California. To quote the great philosopher Marshawn Lynch, I'm about that work, boss. Like you know what I'm here for. Like, I'm not gonna be shaking hands, kissing babies. You're going to get this work one way or the other. So shout out to her. Keep on going. But I would love to hear people's feedback on what they think that is, how that actual idea can be perceived and or manifested these days, because I don't think it's just going to come from one candidate, but I do hope that there's going to be a rallying point of some sort. And you know what? One more side note, if you don't mind. Sure. This is going to be the first time I mention this guy, and I think you'll find him extremely interesting. So here in the state of Kentucky, I'm a University of Louisville fan through and through. So University of Kentucky is a hardcore, it's the arch rival. It's who we root against. Even though I know and love plenty of people from there, but there's a sports commentator here by the name of Matt Jones, and Matt Jones has a vehicle that he started himself called KSR, Kentucky Sports Radio, where his whole really programming is pro UK, anti U of L. Most for the record. So as you can imagine, a lot of U of L fans. Here's a little bit more history. A lot of U of L fans are black because Louisville is the metropolitan city of Kentucky, and although we have plenty of racist stuff that goes on here too, it's less and it's more progressive than a lot of the state. Not all, but a lot. So,
Gotcha.
So as you can imagine, that equals a lot of black people not liking Matt Jones. Matt Jones, to me, is the closest I can think of what a white Democrat looks like in the state of Kentucky. He's relatively young, 30-ish, I mean, maybe 40, I'm not sure. Went to the University of Kentucky, went to Duke for law school, by the way. Hates Duke because he's a UK fan. But, he is well-spoken, funny, insightful, but he's a Democrat, which when I found that out took me aback because the most that I knew about him, because I typically don't listen to a lot of sports talk radio other than podcasts, is he is extremely progressive. So, man, he's worth looking into for the record as well. He's got a great podcast. You should check out the Matt Jones podcast, and I think you would find him interesting. Yeah, Bomani Jones on there. Like my dude's got work. So, anyways, I reached out to him recently and said, "Listen, I think that you may be the most important political figure in the state right now." And I let me say publicly, so people can hold me accountable, that I disagree with everything you say sports wise, but that's fine because politics is more important. And
exactly
what we can do for our children and for this actual state takes way more precedent to me than anybody winning a game or not. So when and if he runs, because he talks about it all the time, not only will he have my support and my money, but I will happily work on his campaign, which is not something that I do often. Shout out to John Yarmouth. That's the last campaign I worked on. But so I know that's a little bit of a rant, but I wanted to give you guys a profile and example that you can actually Google, listen to a podcast of the closest that I think of when I think in today's age, what is a white Democrat? So, Matt Jones.
No, I agree. Now, just for the record, Matt Jones, his radio station is in Lexington, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so he's pro Kentucky and all that. It's the same way out here where we have our local Lakers radio station. There's no Clipper radio station. Just FYI. There's the local Laker radio station, 710 ESPN, where all they talk about is Laker. So right. I understand.
Right.
Because,
man.
We got people on there, John Ireland and other dudes who you get tired and annoyed of hearing them rant about the Lakers and everything the Lakers do is gold. But you they're insightful people.
Yep.
They're well spoken. They're very, they think before they speak. They're very insightful people. So, I mean, I get what you're saying in regards to Matt Jones. And hey, if the man can help, get things turned around in this country, I mean, shit, I'll pull for him.
Yeah, me too, man. Listen, you know how I feel about my cards. So
yep.
I didn't reach this point easily, but I also see what the worst governor in the country, Matt Bevin, our governor, is actually doing, and it legitimately sickens me because the only reason he's in office is because of something that we spoke about last show. Which, for the record, I said it wrong, and somebody called me on it. I appreciate it, but I said voter empathy. I meant voter apathy. Voter apathy, like just feeling as if there's no motivation to actually get out there and vote and support the candidate because there's so many flaws with it. Like Hillary Clinton was not the perfect candidate, man. No. Bernie Sanders.
I mean, I said from the beginning, it was between her and 45.
Yeah,
it was the lesser of two evils for me. That was my perspective of it. I was like, I'm just picking the lesser of two evils, really. So
and I look back that, like, after the election, so many things. I didn't talk politics for a while, but here we are a year later, and we need to. And I'm glad you reached out to do this. But after that election, I just got so frustrated. Like with the Women's March, it was such a beautiful event, but then you had some women that were marching that voted for Trump, and you're marching in that Women's March.
Yep.
What? Like what? Maybe okay.
Have you not heard anything this man said?
I just so yeah. So anyways, that is our first one. The second one. Listen, brother.
This was I hate to say positive news, but I mean, in my perspective, I was just like, fist pump a little bit.
Let's go.
A little little by little, let's just tear down the foundation little by little, and that sucker can just blow from the inside. Let's go.
So, listen, if you keep up with the NBA, you realize that my Orlando Magic are doing surprisingly well right now. I still think it's fool's gold because my heart won't let me believe it, but
you'll enjoy the next Brothers Layman Sport Happy Hour.
Okay, I love it. I
hope
love
you
it.
pulled out that Shaq or that Penny jersey or whatever jersey, Orlando jersey you got.
Nick
Rock
Anderson,
it right
baby.
now.
Nick Anderson.
Rock it now, Teddy.
But you know, the only right now, the only other person other than Aaron Gordon that can get me a little bit more excited when I see him, or if I ran into him, I would buy his dinner. Shout out to Robert Mueller. Right? And you say to yourself, that doesn't sound like a sports figure, Teddy. Well, it's not. Robert Mueller is essentially the person that is heading the probe into what happened with Russia and the election with the Trump campaign. So he is, you know, depending on who you believe, the level of autonomy that he has, he is the person that is going through the records, interviewing people. I think he has subpoena power, if I'm not mistaken, but he's asking people like, yo, how did Russia affect our election? Was it just through social media, which they've confirmed, or was there truly collusion that Trump has denied all the way through? But what is the evidence? So it's his job to actually go through and comb through and figure out what's going on. Well, guess what? He's been working, and Robbie Mueller came down here recently and said, guess what? We're gonna need to talk to a couple of people. And by talk, I mean, let's arrest them. Let's go ahead and put the silver bracelets on them, right? So the first one is Paul Manafort. He is the first one, the biggest name so far that's been taken down. He's not the most entertaining name, which we'll get to in a second, but Paul Manafort is the short-term campaign manager, I believe is the term that Trump used for him while Trump was running for president. He had a lot of business dealings with Russia and a couple of European countries before he decided to jump on to Trump's team. And he is being arrested for, I believe, up to 12 counts. And one of the counts is conspiracy against the United States. Yeah, baby. So I was like, what's going on? What's up, Robbie Mueller? Talk to me. And essentially, he has been charged with all those, and he's going to have to defend himself against essentially backdoor conversations that has proven that he's had, but he's denied and lied to the FBI before about when it comes to Russia, aka Vladimir Putin, contacting and communicating with indirectly Donald Trump and or his campaign. So what that means is, of course, jail time for him. It's proof that Trump knew that people were trying to meet with Russian people in order to get more information against Hillary Clinton, and, you know, start to have some type of a communication and all this other stuff. But, like, aside from that, there was another guy arrested who may turn out to be even more important, Jonathan. First off, his name is incredible. And if memory serves me correctly, if you ever watched Webster back in the day, you remember the name Papadopoulos, right? So I think it was George Papadopoulos on Webster. I'm not sure if this guy's first name is George. I'll double check in a second. But so Papadopoulos is essentially a business partner of Manafort. He wasn't, and he was also excuse me. I'm sorry. Papadopoulos wasn't connected directly to Manafort. He was an advisor to the Trump campaign. And he advised because he also had connections and or dealings with Russia as well as several European countries, and, you know, like his whole thing. So in essence, to make a long story long, shady people got caught lying to the feds about Russia hacking the U.S. election. And that makes me feel so good.
Yes, it does to say that, doesn't it? Because people have been calling it. Yes, people have been calling it since the election night, and finally, it is starting to come to light. And hey, all I have said is if all comes out that Russia was involved and there was collusion against Hillary Clinton,
right,
then that whole entire cabinet has to go.
Man. But you know what's
I'm just like, F the impeachment of Donald Trump. That whole goddamn cabinet needs to get the hell up out of there. They all got to go.
Yep. And
what do we even, and Teddy, maybe you can enlighten me. I don't think there's ever been a situation like this in the history of elections. What do you do in this type of situation?
So to not be, I'm trying not to be insensitive to like, I think I thought of a couple of examples in my head, but I don't want to say those just because there were true tragedies here in the country. But you think of anything that you've seen that, you know what? Let's just keep it at a basic level, right? I mean, hell, we were talking about sports earlier. Yo, when you see somebody drop 81 on Toronto, shout out to Bean, shout out to Kobe Bean Bryant, right? That's something that we've never seen before. Trump's whole presidency, from the minute that he declared to his debates, to who he chose to help him with the campaign, to the way that he answered questions about being a person that admitted sexual assault, to the fact that he has not opened up his books and his taxes still, to when he got into office, the people that he elected on the cabinet. Yo, by the way, a year in, his cabinet isn't even halfway full right now, people. The cabinet.
And how many people from his cabinet have resigned?
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. So yes, there has never been a situation not only like this, president like this. And for us who blatantly do not support him and hope that this is a one-term president, we look around and we're just like, guys, you don't see what's going on. But here's where we have to get back to reality, though, because to us, that's how we see it. But to some in his base, him being an outsider and doing things differently is only a confirmation of what he said during the campaign, which was, I'm here to shake up everything. And, you know, all the lies. I don't have to. Y'all heard him. It's fine. Right. So, yeah, that is the first of several times, more than likely, we're going to bring this up, because guess what? This is not stopping tomorrow. This is going to keep going, man. Keep going. And, you know, man, I want to ask you one question before we get out of here.
Yes,
so
sir.
what let's just play a little role play. If you were, God forbid, in Trump's cabinet, and all this information came down, Trump turned to you and is just like, yo, what do you think we should do? What's the next step? How do we handle all these fires that are going on? Right? What would you say?
I'd be like, Donald, you done dug us into so big a goddamn hole. There's no way we can climb out of this. Nah, look,
you basically just like, dog, you reneged 3 times. Like, what do you want me to say?
Dude, like, what do you want me to say? Like, I mean, you got the Secretary of State calling you a SOB behind your back. I mean, just like, it's like, man, you have caused so many issues. I don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
I mean, first, this would never happen. This would never in a million years happen.
Yeah.
But first things first, you got to just come out and say it. Just F it, admit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to, for the first time in your life, you got to be honest.
Why would a 70-year-old man start now? That, you know,
I understand, I get it, but you're asking me what I would advise him. I'm like, you want me? Okay, you want to get out of it? You better throw somebody under the bus then.
Yeah.
Pick whoever you like the least.
Yeah.
Toss them under the bus. They colluded.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew nothing. Play the I knew nothing role.
Yeah. Yeah.
We see it all the time in sports. I didn't know.
I don't know what you mean.
There were rapes going all in Baylor University. I had no idea what was going on.
I don't know. I mean, they talked. Yeah, they talked to me about it, but I don't know what they're talking about.
And you people you guys in Louisville know Rick Pitino. I didn't know.
Bruh. Don't get me started. Boy. One day we just gonna go in.
98% of the shoe contract. I was like,
yeah, dog.
what?
Yeah, dog.
What?
You know,
Oh, he dropped that school blind.
that was the part that didn't shock anybody. But yeah, 98. So, all right, let's go ahead and wrap it up because we're trying to keep it. But we, as you can tell, we're excited because ultimately there has to be some accountability held. But let me end on a low note and remind everyone. Let's say the best thing happens, and that is Paul Manafort, Papadopoulos, who has the best name ever, and I think Paul. I'll look up his name, the third guy, but Manafort or Rick Gates. Rick Gates is the other guy.
Rick Gates.
Yeah. So all three of them get convicted, life imprisonment. Here's where I want to remind people of just how important it is to vote. And I'm speaking specifically to you, person who decided to not go out and vote. If they all get convicted, Trump can pardon every one of them the next day. So there's that. All right. I hope you sleep well. As always, we appreciate you joining us on all three years of a podcast. I'm Teddy D. You can find me once again at Dwight Ted on Instagram, as well as Teddy_D_ on Twitter, Black Astronauts Podcast, as well as the Why Not Podcast. And as always, Patreon/Black Astronauts. We appreciate the support. Brother Jonathan, where can they find you, man?
Hey, you guys can always find me. You can hit us up, blackisonline.com, or if you want to hit us up on Twitter, at Brothers Layman. Hit me up, hit my brother up, Chris. And, let us know how you guys are feeling about what's going on. Brush up on your education, folks. This is the time to read. That's why I love this show, because it has forced me to jump back to these books, into these newspapers, really look what's going on, and just re-educate myself.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I love it.
And as always, we want to leave you and encourage you. Just because it's tough doesn't mean it's over. And as always, now that you are woke, what you going to do? All right, peace.
Peace.